From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition. It's our first edition, Season 5, Episode 1 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, and I am joined by my lovely sidekick, our co-host, whatever you want to call him, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer, Rafa, Mr. Papa Socceritis. How are you, buddy?
Pretty good. Here, live from Del Rio for Thanksgiving.
I call that the quinceañera background, the quinceañera backdrop. Dude, hey, that was a great intro, dude. You're gonna have to start paying me soon. I give you a better intro than I give myself. So, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you guys. Fresh off of the it was a Champions League Wednesday, day before on the eve of Thanksgiving. So, before we forget, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for joining us. And I do apologize in advance. The throat came back from Tasco, and Monday afternoon started kind of going south a little bit. So a little under the weather, but you can hear it in the voice. So a little clearing of the throat, side to the side, coughing, stuff like that. I apologize. But as I told Rafa, the great ones play hurt. So we're here. We're going to make it happen. Excited to have you guys here. We got a lot to discuss today. But before we get into anything, thoughts on that Liverpool Real Madrid match? You're muted.
Luckily, I had to work today, and so I didn't get to really see it. So, but I don't know what Liverpool's going to brag about when they have like 9 injured players on the Real Madrid squad. So it's no biggie. Like I said, they got to let them win once.
They are pretty banged up, but
yeah, then Camavinga just got hurt too. So
yeah.
So I think Daddy Florentino's going to have to make some calls after the Christmas break. Get some defenders.
Yeah, the thing is these injuries they're mounting, they're coming all at the same time, and they're all for like the same extended amount of period too. So it's not like they're overlapping and you're getting some of them back earlier than others, nothing like that whatsoever. So but yeah, interesting match. I felt like it was more about Liverpool tonight, obviously, than Real Madrid. Real Madrid less than 100%, but not an excuse, especially when you're Real Madrid, Champions League, and prime time. And I think it's just, excuse me, I think it's more of Liverpool is kind of coming of age. I think right now they are probably the most informed team of any club in the world right now. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they're peaking at the right time, but like I said, when it comes down to the knockout phase, that's where really they're gonna have to prove themselves. But they still got another tough one. I mean, they can be brought back to reality this weekend by. I know Man City's been struggling too, so
right.
But maybe this is again Pep gets some. I think if they get a big win on this one, they can probably turn their season around and really turn things around for Liverpool and make them put some doubt back on their head.
Yeah, did you see that yesterday they blew a 3. I think they were the first Champions League team to blow a 3-0 lead past 75 minutes ever, like in history. That had never happened. Man City, I'm talking about Man City here. And and then they just collectively in all competitions, they've 5 game losing streak or 5, something like that.
Yeah.
So, wow. So everything is upside down right now. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And then obviously next month, December, especially in the Premier League, December is a great time. The Boxing Day, everything that leads up to it, right? Everything that leads up to it as well. Tons of matches. So, but yeah. So besides that, how are things, man? How have you been?
Just been busy. I've been traveling since late August with the recruitment effort. Finally got a week to really kind of chill out before I'm hit the road again next week. Next week I'll be in Austin and also in Victoria. I got to go to Shirts this week. Gonna go check out some club soccer. Go support AJ Harry's son's team, and I saw some very talented players. I think I know. I want to tell you this. Duncanville may be. I think they're reloading. I saw one of their club teams play. Very fast, very talented.
You're talking about the boys, correct? Boys, I'm assuming.
The boys, yeah. And if that's any indication, them being part of the varsity, that's a team, especially that Magic they made last year. They gave Silver Lakes all the run for their money. I think they're going to be loaded again. And then another surprise, got to talk to some people from Eagle Pass. They had some talented players there too. They had a pretty good club team there. Got to talk to one of the parents, and I think if they can find the right coach, I think they can do some damage, in that 36A district, which is, like I said, I know they added Medina Valley to it. I know Medina Valley, I think their club soccer's kind of helped them also kind of catapult them to be very competitive in high school. So it should be interesting coming up.
Yeah, Duncanville, it's interesting you mentioned them too, because they're going to be interesting just from the perspective of, they're kind of sounds like they're reloading as far as the talent goes. But then how do they handle, obviously they'll have a new coach, their previous coach after that run to state is now at Euless Trinity, I believe is where he went now. So there's that piece, right? How much continuity is in that program on the coaching staff, that kind of stuff as well. How do they handle a first year coach, that kind of thing. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one, no doubt. So, but yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today, obviously. So it's the preview show. So we're going to discuss, this one's a little different as episode 1 goes. We talk about, we're going to hit on the key dates for the UAL soccer. Then we're going to also preview, we break this down into 2 components. One, we kind of look at the San Antonio South Central Texas area, San Antonio South Central Texas area, and some of the things that you can find that'll be in store for this season of Inside Texas High School Soccer. And then we'll also look statewide, what we're going to cover as well. So this is really, so by episode 2, we should have our first unveiling of the RPI, right? The Rafa Power Index for the state, I believe. Is that right, Rafa?
I'm holding off on that a bit, so I'm gonna, like I said, I'm waiting to
episode 2? Not episode 2? No,
probably episode 2. We'll see about that.
Okay.
I've seen a couple polls there, and like I said, I'll give my solo perspective on it, and it should be, like I said, it should be interesting because, like I said, there's a lot of really good teams out there, but there's also the unknown, especially with the changes. It's going to be very, very surprising, especially, there were turnovers, like you mentioned, Duncanville's coach going over to Euless Trinity. How's that going to affect them? I know here in San Antonio, we've had some coaching changes too recently. A big one was Brennan High School getting a new coach. They had a really good season last year. They got a good quality coach. Who knows, that's going to take them maybe to the next, even deeper. So this, and then the changes from the realignment, the one in our backyard, the group of death.
That's going to be a dynamite district for sure. And with that's going to give us the perfect segue to go ahead and bring in one of our teammates here, Mr. Steve Sanchez. Coach Steve-O, how are you, buddy?
Hey, doing well. Yeah. How y'all doing?
Good, buddy.
Pretty good.
So glad to have you here. I know it's been a minute since we've had you on here, but
it's good.
Better time than episode 1, the preview show. And we wanted to bring you in for a couple of minutes just to see, first of all, check in with you, see how things are going, see what's new with you, but then also hit on a couple of things that you're excited about this year. But before we do that, just tell us what's going on, what's new.
All right. Well, yeah, a little bit of an update on my end. I'm out of the club coaching. I took a season off and possibly more. I'm really enjoying my time lately as far as being away from the field. That being said, I've kind of, got into this whole NCAA college soccer thing. So I've always been into the college soccer. The NCAA College Cup and all of that. But this year I've been able to watch a little bit more of that. It's always cool also when you have former players that are, participating in, D1, D2, and D3 soccer. So been able to follow them a little bit more and, catch some games and watch games on ESPN Plus as well. So, but yeah, no, it's been a little different, not having to go, coach 2-3 times a week.
Yeah.
But I've been enjoying it a lot, this past fall.
Yeah. So best we'll say NCAA D1 men's or women's or one of each if you have one of each. Best NCAA tournament match you've seen so far, your opinion.
Oh wow. So with the there's been quite a few, but I guess let's see. One that kind of comes to mind, a shocker this past week was on the women's side was, defending champion Florida State getting knocked off by SEC Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt's a program that's, on the rise, has been on the rise these last few years with some of their players and their coaching staff and such. But for them to go into Tallahassee and knock off, a Florida State team that pretty much ran through the ACC tournament. They kind of stumbled a little bit during the season, but they kind of got their feet underneath them. And once they head into the ACC tournament, they knocked off. They wound up winning the ACC tournament. So, they were a big favorite going into the College Cup and NCAA tournament. So but that game, it wasn't just the upset part of it. It's kind of how it happened. It was a 3-3 game, going into penalty kicks. And it was a shocker. I know the 3 or 4 of us were kind of going back and forth on text. I was out shopping, so I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put you on mute and watch this game when I get home." So I did that, and it was a shocker. I kind of had an idea of what was going on there, but yeah, no, that was a really, really good game. The men's, I think the men's they're in the Sweet 16 now. So
they're a round behind. I think they're a round behind.
Yeah, because they do their College Cup the following week.
A
lot of soccer. I mean, like I said, being away from the field has been it's been a good thing. Also, just trying to be a little bit more healthy and lifestyle choices and this and that, and being able to spend more time with family, go to different family events. I've got a couple nieces that have picked up the sport and been able to go watch some of their games. And, also I do private lessons and being able to do that a little bit more.
You've been busy at that. Yeah.
Yeah. My 78 soccer training has been, really, really kind of pretty steady, and so that's always been fun to see those kids develop over the course of the summer as well as the fall. So, but yeah, no, it's been fun. It's been fun so far.
Cool. Any plans? Any Thanksgiving plans? What's staying home, family at your place, or what are the plans?
Yeah, so we've got tradition to be at my grandma's around 11 o'clock. I usually call it the Detroit Lions time, right? Be there for the Detroit Lions game, and then we're usually there till about 2, 3, 4 in the afternoon, and then come back to our home and have another little turkey meal for the Cowboys or the late evening NFL game. But yeah, we'll be here in town.
Yeah, Sweet,
awesome. It's also nice. My brother literally is on his drive down from Oklahoma, so we'll have the whole family, the whole Sanchez crew together here. So that'll be nice. And it's going to be a good little Thanksgiving weekend, holiday weekend.
Good deal. So, so part of the reason why we wanted to bring you on also was have you on since it's been a minute, and hopefully we want to have you on a lot more this year on Inside Texas High School Soccer. But the other piece too was particularly today was we wanted to highlight. So a couple of things, right? Like first question I had for you is when you look at the landscape on both the boys and girls side in the San Antonio area, right? What are maybe some teams, some schools, and maybe some districts that kind of have you excited that you really want to highlight, that you're really looking forward to Whether you're going to be covering them or just tracking closely, what has you excited when it comes to maybe some teams as well as some districts?
Sure. So I guess the way I'll kind of do this is, and I'll start with classification. So I'll start with 4A first, and just going over a lot of different changes this year. I think you've covered a lot of that during the TASCO meeting. There's a couple questions. I'll say 2 questions that were kind of posed out there, but I won't really get into that. But that being said, the alignment just changed in 2024, 2025. So you've got a lot of movement right across the state as far as the districts are concerned. And one of the movements in 4A that I noticed was a lot of the Austin ISD schools. They went from 5A, moved down to the 4A District 25, I believe. So you've got teams like I believe it's Northeast, Travis. Have it here.
Eastside Memorial.
And Johnson.
And LBJ.
Yeah, LBJ that moved down to 4A. So, that's a district that on the boys' side is usually kind of, I wouldn't say dominate, but lately, Achieve has kind of been the highlight of that district. And now you've got, a little bit more, those 5A schools that have come down, could potentially give them a little bit run for their money as far as district is concerned. So that's what I see for 4A. Another big one for 4A on the boys and girls side is Bernie now moving up to 5A. So,
right.
Of course, you got Bernie that was in state for the boys and the girls last year, and of course the Bernie boys have been 3-4 years in a row, something like that. At state, and so now it's who's going to step up in 4A for on the boys side as far as Region 4 is concerned. So that's what I kind of see for the 4A.
Do you think this is a year for Davenport to really, now that Bernie's out,
to
really kind of to take a hold? But the thing is, they have Marble Falls in that district, and that's I think that's going to be it. I think out of those 2 teams, and then you mentioned about the Austin one, like I think keep an eye on Northeast, because remember they made a run a couple years ago in 5A.
Right.
I think those are your 3 dominant teams from this part of the northern part of Region 4, and then on the bottom you got like I said, you have Hidalgo, and you have a Valley View that went down from 5A to 4A, and so I'm trying to think, and also you also have that London team from Corpus.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great point. Is it now Davenport's time to, kind of take the reps and step into that Bernie spotlight. So, but yeah, no, that's definitely that's a team that could, potentially we could potentially see going to state. And Marble Falls again coming down from District 25, moving over to the District 26 with Fredericksburg and Canyon Lake.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, you got Wimberley in there. Keep your eye on Wimberley.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Lavernia. Don't forget Lavernia too.
Right.
I think
for sure.
Yeah, District 27. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we look at 5A, 5A, both sides of the house. Maybe give us 2 or 3 schools that you're interested in tracking closely this year.
Yeah, so I actually have districts. So I really think that District 28 is going to be an intriguing one, just due to the fact that, you've got your typical SAISD schools. So you've got, Jefferson, Edison, Lanier, but now, Hector schools, now jumping in there with that district as well. So
they're 27 now, if I'm not mistaken. They're because we're in a different one now. So
28.
Yeah, 20. I know what you're saying, but I think it's 27.
Oh, is it 26? You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
26.
Yeah, you're right. So District 27 with Burbank and Jefferson and all of them. Yeah. So that's going to be one of the intriguing ones. But the big one, the elephant in the room is District 26. So you've got, you got your Bernie, you've got your Bernie champion, Piper, Smithson Valley, Alamo Heights, and New Braunfels. New Braunfels coming down from 6A, and that's just, then you've got Kerrville Tivy, who is right on the cusp of on the boys and the girls side. that, could have, they were right there, I think, in the 5 slot
Right.
to make the playoffs. So that district right there, is just going to be a powerhouse. They're going to do some damage. Of course, let's see what they do to each other before the playoffs hit.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's going to be one of those districts that it's going to be pretty neat to see. But then after that, after district is finished, the first round of the playoffs, they're now matching up with the Leander district. So
Yeah.
they're matching up against District 25. You've got Rouse, you've got Glenn, you've got
Liberty Hill.
Cedar Park.
That
So
that
that
district is, oh
first,
my God, yeah.
yeah, that first round of playoffs is going to be almost like a third or fourth round match. In a by district. I don't
And
know.
it really is going to be, it really is going to be kind of a whole new, I don't know, it's going to be almost like Christmas Eve all over again. Once teams get locked in, and they have a tendency to happen late because a 2-way tie, 3-way tie, what have you. But excuse me, but because of the D1, D2 split, how those matchups occur now is going to get interesting, right? It's who goes to the Division 1 bracket, who goes to the Division 2 bracket. There are only a handful of schools in this area, I think, that are a clear lock for, they know they're going to go D1 or they know they're going to go D2. Otherwise, you have the overwhelming majority, that's at least 50 to maybe 60, dare I say 75%. They're kind of floating. They can see themselves going in either bracket depending upon a number of things happening.
Yeah. And then you had mentioned the schools that, which schools do I kind of have my eye on? Piper's a big one on the boys and girls side. You kind of, living in San Antonio, playing against, the clubs that are out there, at GBTC Fields, SA United, Classics Elite. You've got a lot of those players that are, pretty solid players. And so, and teams as well that we play against. But yeah, that's go ahead.
I was going to tell you about Piper. Like the Piper girls, they did have a coaching change.
Correct.
We'll see how that is a factor going into the district play.
Yeah,
and remember that 25 5A swept 26 5A last year, and so with this now the roles reverse this coming year.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
It is with the alignments and of course the playoff changes with the divisions. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, Piper's the team that I've got my radar on, definitely.
Good deal. And then we wrap up. We look at 6A. Any because you can't just obviously we could stay here and name all the districts all day, but maybe give us two or three schools, the district, and maybe one district that you're eyeing going into early this year.
Yeah, so the district that I was kind of eyeing is 29, just due to the fact that, well, they did lose, New Braunfels, which is typically a big powerhouse, but they gained Buda Johnson as well as New Braunfels Canyon. So that's a district that already has, the Cibolo Steel. You've got Clemens, Judson in there, San Marcos as well. So that's a district that I think that is going to be, it's got stronger, even though it lost, the Unicorns and New Braunfels, but I think that's a district that's, gotten a little bit stronger and added some good quality schools.
Gotcha. So while I have, I'll ask this one in this area, right? Both the greater San Antonio, South Central Texas area. If you can give me one or two sleepers, regardless of classification, on boys or girls side, who are you picking to be kind of a dark horse or a sleeper that maybe either people aren't very big on or people are going to be very surprised about later in the year?
For myself on the boys side, I really like what I saw from Taft, the Taft boys team. The way that they ended the season last year, they were knocking off, they didn't advance, they didn't make the playoffs, but from what I saw, the way that they were playing really good team ball. So, I mean, I'm sure they probably lost a couple players, but I think that they're reloading. And I think that that's a team that to watch out for this upcoming season will be the Taft boys. Another one that I also have seen some good things coming out of that school is just due to the fact that I've coached some of their players is Warren High School in that same district. So I think Warren is on the rise as well, as far as on the boys' side, as well as the girls' side. But I think that's another team that that could potentially be a sleeper.
Oh yeah.
This
I'm
upcoming season.
predicting. I think Warren on the girls' side can't entirely speak for the boys' side 100%, but I think on the girls' side, Warren is primed for a big season. I really
Yeah, they've got a goalkeeper that I think just due to a transfer, she wasn't able to play last year, so she played JV. But you know, I know she's a very, very good quality goalkeeper that's going to be playing in with Warren this upcoming year. But they've got some returners as well. I know Chloe and Abby, I believe, or Addie, I should say. They're another, you know, some quality girls that can, you know, do some things in the district. So yeah, watch out for the Warren girls for sure.
That was a game that we covered. I think last year that we talked about that. They may have the best midfield coming back. You know,
Who's that?
with those two, with Warren,
Okay.
with the Warren girls. Yeah, because I know me and Steve covered one of their games, and we're watching them, and you mentioned that you keep an eye on them. I think they may end up, like I mentioned, they may end up having the best midfield combo there. I think they have a lot to prove this year, and I've been talking to a couple of coaches from that district. You know, they're not sleeping on them. They're a little concerned on how good they're going to be this year, and I want to be a surprise. You know, if they make a deep run this year.
Yeah, and then considering
shots fired by Rafa already.
you know the incredible season that Taft had last year. You know, but that being said, they lost a few players. They still got a quality top notch goalkeeper, and not only that, she's almost like Mads is almost like a coach on the field. You know, I wouldn't even say just a leader, but just like almost like a coach on the field. You know, and motivator. Definitely a leader though, but yeah, you know, congrats to her as well. From the podcast, I got to go to her.
Absolutely.
Signing
Congrats to Mads. Congratulations, buddy. Signing to go, staying local, play at St. Mary's. Yeah,
that's right, Rattler.
Awesome. Yeah, I hear what you're saying on Taft on the girls' side. I think, you know, I've had multiple conversations with Coach Davis, and I think that I think this year we're going to really measure. I think he's going to do an outstanding job on the coaching side this year, because he's had a ton of talent over the last few years, graduates a ton of it, but he obviously still has talent coming back, talent coming in, but they're going to kind of be spread out all over. They're going to be young, but after what they've built there, what he's built there, I look for them. I think this is kind of one of those where it might take them a little while to figure it out in the beginning, but I think their culture will see them through. And as long as they got Coach Davis there, I think they're going to be okay. But I think in that same district on the girls' side is just got to watch out for mighty O'Connor. You know, I think that district is O'Connor's to lose, or can Warren make that jump? Right? Can someone else also challenge them? Can Brennan, you know, come in and challenge O'Connor as well? So look for Brennan to be solid as well. Very well coached squad. Yeah. So
one other thing I wanted to mention for 6A, it was just again with the different alignments now, you know, you've got some playoff matchups with District 25 versus 26, which is now the Round Rock schools versus the Austin schools, and then also, you know, what was 29, which was the San Antonio Northside schools going up against those Valleys teams and South Texas teams. Now they got moved to District 28, and now they're matched up against the Northeast schools. So they're playing, you know, so you've got the Warrens and the O'Connors and all that versus the Northeast schools, the Churchills, the Lees.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be pretty intriguing once we hit March with playoff time.
Yeah. So switching gears here, Steve-O, before we wrap up so we can get you going. Thoughts statewide, when we look at it across the board statewide, thoughts, big picture thoughts, things that maybe one or two things that you're looking forward to as we start to dive into obviously early preseason or not preseason, but non-district early tournaments, and then just district play starts early. We got some districts that start January 7th. So
Wow.
so yeah. So
Yeah,
thoughts on all that.
statewide, I'll start in the Valley RGV. So with 5A boys, you had Brownsville Rivera that got moved down to 5A. So now you've got District 32, which now has Lopez, Pace, Porter, Rivera. Other schools like I believe
Right.
I think Donna, or no, take that back.
Donna North
Yeah.
was a team that was making noise.
Donna North, Harlingen South. So you've got that district is loaded. So that's going to be another district that is kind of I have my radar on as far as 5A boys. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that with the and I think it got brought up over at your interviews with Tasco is will we have a double district state champion? You've got in 6A District 5 for the boys and girls. You've got schools like Coppell, Louisville, Flower Mound, Hebron, Marcus. That could potentially be a district that gets a double state champ. District 6 on the boys and girls side as well. You've got Allen, McKinney Boyd, the Plano schools, Prosper, of course. So that's another one, and then of course District 19, the Katy ISD. So tons of options there as far as double district or district and state champion. So for 5A, some of the districts that I think have potential. We just spoke of one right now with District 32 in the 5A boys side, and then District 12 for 5A is going to be teams like the Carrollton Turner, Dallas Highland Park, the Frisco Lone Star, Frisco Reedy, and the Cocoys, right? Wakeland.
Oh yeah.
They're always good for a state champion or two. So, that's another one. And then for 4A, I've got District 11 to keep an eye out on as far as maybe, double district / state champion, which is the Salina, Frisco, Panther Creek, so that district. 2025 is going to be it's going to be a little different. I'm not too big on the whole two different state champions with the Division 1, Division 2, but it's a change. We always have to be used to change, and so it's something to get used to. But I guess, and then now you have to win 6 games instead of 7 to be considered state champion. So those teams that get hot at the right time, and I mean anything can happen.
Yeah, I think I'm over the D1 D2. It's here, it's here, and it's we roll with it. I think at this point, but during my interviews at Tasco, I made it. Excuse me, I called him out and I said, "It's like, hey, I firmly believe we will have at least. I don't know if it's a question of will we get a pair of state champions from the same district, boy side or girl side, of our 12 state champions, right? I think it's more of do we only get one, right? So that will be TBD, obviously, and just because there's so much talent across the state, but then there's certain districts that are so just overrun with talent, right? So it'll be interesting, and then how that whole D1 D2 splits, how that happens, that's going to now afford that opportunity where two teams that would normally sometimes run into each other in like a regional quarterfinal, now they can make their own independent runs. So
yeah,
I always come back to what Jimmy Langford said from Wakeland, right? When I had him on over the summer, and he was talking about the D1 D2 split, and he was telling me that our regions in Texas, our regions have more participants than many states do have in their entire state. So when he broke it down like that, I was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense, and I feel like, okay, now the questions, there are arguments to be said that is this going to only really benefit a set amount of districts? Possibly, we'll see. The proof will be in the pudding. We'll see as it plays out. But everybody starts undefeated, and everybody's got to go out there and compete. So we shall see. But either way, I mean, it didn't seem really to be much of a point of conversation or a point of contention really with any high school coach that I spoke with at Tasco. So I think they moved on from that one. So, but as we wrap up, Steve-O, final thoughts. Tell us, what are you looking forward to in 24-25 as far as local coverage? Maybe some games you plan on being early at the start of the season after December 30th. What can you share with us?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm not doing the club coaching thing this year. So definitely, San Antonio, look out for, myself, and I'm sure Rafa will be doing some coverage of some games around the city. I'm not sure about Austin. We'll see. That Austin traffic is never appealing to get up there, but especially going up 35 and such. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, no, I definitely planned on getting out and watching more games. I usually would have training on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So I would miss a lot of Tuesday games during the high school season. But hopefully, I'll be able to get out there a little bit more often and support local soccer here in San Antonio.
Great stuff. He is Steve Sanchez, Coach Steve Sanchez, one of our team members of the 50/50 podcast team. If you see him out and about, he's at your game. He's covering your game. Say hi to him. Don't throw anything at him, okay? Because I don't know if he'll behave. He'll probably throw something back. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But say hi to him for sure. He'll be out. You'll definitely see him across San Antonio area, greater San Antonio area, covering games for sure. Sometimes by himself, sometimes with Rafa. We're working on growing that team in terms of coverage as well. So, Steve-O, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. And any final thoughts? Where can they go find your stuff? Where can they look you up? Your 78 training that you mentioned as well. Where can they find more information?
Yeah, thank you for that. So 78 training, I have a Instagram page. So just as it says right here. But yeah, so here in San Antonio, I offer, private lessons to any, youth from the age of, I'd say 6 all the way up to like 17, 18-year-olds. So, just a lot of technical work, a lot of, touches of the ball. So just trying to build the San Antonio city as far as, developing, from an early age, or even kids that, try to, get into the sport at age 11, 12, 13. So just always trying to build the quality that we have here in San Antonio. I believe there was one of the, I forgot who it was. He had like 8 or 10 interviews, but one of the coaches was saying that, good quality, technique and development from players in San Antonio. So like I said, just trying to, build that up as far as, San Antonio players.
Yeah. Yeah, it was busy. It was busy out at Tasco, but it was fun. It was fun.
You did a really good job. And I've probably watched at least 8 different interviews that you've had and have posted already. So kudos to you, as well as Tasco, for putting on a great event. I'd love to get out there one of these days. Just try to get the time off, and it's right around my anniversary time, so it's kind of hard to get away. But the Moody Gardens, we've been out there. It's beautiful resort out there, and I can't even imagine, with it just being, soccer centric over there. It's got to be a great event to be at. So.
Yeah. They've done a great job, and Moody Gardens does a great job of hosting us. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. For sure. So he is Steve Sanchez, or one of our correspondents, member of the 50/50 podcast team. Steve-O, appreciate you, buddy. Take care. Be safe.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Take care. All right. Thank you to Steve-O for joining us. Appreciate you. All right, buddy. What'd you think? Some of the things he had to say. Follow-up stuff.
Yeah, that's some stuff we've discussed, coming into the season. It's like there's a lot of going to be some surprises. Like last year we saw a lot of surprises. So I'm sure it's going to be like Pandora's box, what's going to occur this coming season and so forth. But I think, like I said, the change with the divisions, I have a good feeling. I think there is going to be a couple districts that do kind of sweep some state titles.
No,
I'm
talking about
kind of
state titles.
yeah, I'm kind of looking like, for example, he mentioned about the Katy schools. Like
Mhm.
I saw Katy Seven Lakes and Katy Jordan. Those two went to toe to toe. And I look at their enrollment. Very, very kind of. There's a gap there, so I could literally see, them lifting. The possibility of lifting the hardware. Same thing with the girls' side with the Louisville schools. So you can have.
Yeah.
I saw Marcus. The big difference between them and Flower Mound. They can end up holding the trophies too as well. So it's going to be the one thing I think the downside is you don't get to see those matchups again, like because everyone's thrown into the fire, and
Yeah.
and you have
Yeah.
to run through that gauntlet because you do have to beat. I mean, really, you are beating the best of the best. And not saying that the Division 1 Division 2 isn't the best of the best. I mean, you really have to run a gauntlet because you have to run into teams that may be bigger than you, as far as student population size, but.
Yeah.
I think still be fun because, like I said, you're going to have some teams that maybe I think it's like an opportunity for them to be able to shine. And also, like I mentioned, but the Tasco, like kudos to Tasco. Like I said, they always do a great job, the convention and so forth. Kudos to all the coaches that do all the hard work they do with the polls, and the polls, and with the setup and so forth. So props to them.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience, great setup. Once again, it was our third year there, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later. But excuse me, I felt like it's just. I mean, it seemed like there was a lot more people there right away. Usually, it's kind of that trickle effect. People over the course of that first afternoon, evening start to come in, and then by the next day, it's boom, a lot of people. Excuse me. This year, it just seemed like it was a lot right from the start, right away. So it was pretty interesting. It was awesome to watch. So all right, and with that, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna talk about. We're gonna look at some key dates, UAL soccer key dates here, real quick, in our full screen layout. So actually, here, let me see. You might be able to. We'll just go full screen here. So. It just cuts off a little at the top. But so obviously December 2nd, next Monday, marks the start of our season. Teams will everywhere across the state of Texas will be initiating their tryouts anywhere from two days. I've seen some that are going a whole week, right? So but yeah, December 2nd marks the official start of our season. We're in season as of December 2nd. And then December 13th, first day of scrimmages. December 30th, our first day of live games. So and I know there always seems to be that mix-up, right, as to is this a scrimmage or is this a game? After December 30th, if neither team has played an official contest yet and they want to call it, I think, a scrimmage, they technically still can. But realistically, after December 30th, everything played should be an official match at that point.
That's like I say, interesting setup how they had, especially now you do lose a round, which is the regional quarterfinal. And I think the big key is not having an actual regional final. Usually have it on a weekend.
Yeah.
At a predetermined location.
Right. As we look at March, I was talking about March here. Excuse me. We'll look at March 18th is obviously our cutoff, our deadline, district certification date, and then right after that, we begin with by district round. At that point, that's when you determine who's going to be your D1 playoff representatives, who's going to be your D2 playoff representatives for your district. So gone are those days of a 4 from one team playing a first place team from another district. It will now be a 1 and 2 versus a 1 and 2. And then in the by-district round, which is the 20th through 22nd, followed by the area round. That's that same week, right? That's that Thursday through Saturday area round. So obviously this moves very quickly. And then it is, as Steve mentioned earlier, it is a round shorter. The regional quarterfinal round is no longer a round. It's no longer there. They toss that out the window, and we go right into what is now a regional semifinal. So now you have essentially, 5 days? You have 5 days to play a regional semifinal, and if you win, to play a regional final, anywhere from March 27th to April 1st. Whereas before, in the old traditional regional tournament, it was back-to-back days, right? It was Friday, Saturday. So there's a little bit of a recovery period there, which I think is big for our sport, big for our players. And what kind of set the model for this was in the season of, what was it, 2021, the season coming back after COVID, right? That was where we saw something like this, where it played out, and there was more space in between rounds. And what ended up happening was we got some incredible games, is what happened. So yeah, that's what happens when we allow some level of recovery time for our athletes in between rounds. And then you go, so now there is also no traditional state tournament where it's a semifinal final as we used to see. It is now a state semifinal at a designated location, just like the regional semifinals and regional finals. And then only the state finals on April 10th through 12th will be held at Birkelbach Field in Georgetown. Thoughts on this, Coach?
I think the interesting part of this also, I think we didn't mention this. Now, when you get to the state semifinals, now it's Region 1 versus Region 2, and then you have 3 versus 4. In the past, they would do seeding for the state tournament. You're not going to see that this year. Like I said, it's whoever basically kind of like what football does. Whoever can survive out of those, from the winners of those 2 regions go on to the final. And it's also, I think the recovery time out there is going to be key, because now, remember, we could see a lot of the state semifinal games. You go to overtime and then you go to the final. You kind of, you lose a step. This one you're going to get some good rest and so forth. And also one of the things here, I could literally see a lot of, maybe, from the area around and regional playing those Monday nights and that by district, and maybe the by district, you'll probably see a lot of Thursday, Friday games, but that regional semifinal, you may see a lot of the Friday, Saturday games to get an extra day of rest, for recovery and so forth. So it's going to be interesting.
Point.
And
good point.
And then also the flip of the coin. You're going to play home and home, or you're going to play a neutral site. It's. I know there's some out there that maybe want the first round. You should host a first round game. Maybe they'll pass that later down the road. But it's gonna be interesting, because I saw kind of a little of the model kind of following with the volleyball. I saw the Region 1. I think it was Wink versus I think it's some team from the Waco area. So they played a state semifinal in Abilene on a Tuesday night. So you're gonna see some things like that. So you're really gonna do some traveling, but the thing is, it's not gonna be the recovery time is gonna help some, I guess, for better games, especially with these matchups coming up.
Yeah, and it just a reminder, are we likely to see it? No, probably not. Absolutely not. I don't think so. But UIL did put it out there to districts. They did leave it to coaches that if you have 4 teams from a general area in a region, right? Let's say you arrive at the regional semifinals and they wanted to, if they agreed on a designated site to play regional semifinals on a set date and a regional final on a set date, they can still do that. They can, on their own, willingly, of course, if they can agree to it, they can sign it. So if they wanted to do a 28th regional semifinal at set location, followed by the 31st regional final at same set location, they could do that. There's nothing that says that they can't. But now, for the sake of the schedule, the rounds are now broken apart, both the regional semifinal and the regional final.
Well, you mentioning that, another factor comes in is now it's going to be difficult to go scout your team, because normally a regional semifinal, regional final states, you're able to see your scout your team there at that same location. Now, we may see less teams do that, because hey, you know what? I don't want to play in the same area. This team, that way they don't check us out and so forth. And now it's going to be it's going to be a lot of strategy here. To kind of keep your team on the unknown, because beforehand,
to each their own, obviously, but coaches are pretty resourceful. I'm sure they'll figure something out. So.
I'm sure they'll have somebody out there, but like I say, that's the one big thing, being able to see them in person after your game or before your game, does help out a long way.
So we move on, and we want to look at. So what we're going to do here, Raf, I'm going to pass over to you. So as we mentioned earlier, we look at a couple of things here. We look at both the coverage in terms of what you can expect for here this season, season 5 of Inside Texas High School Soccer, and a little bit. So in collaboration with our partners at the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, they will predominantly cover this portion of the heavy on the San Antonio coverage. Doesn't mean that the 50-50 podcast Inside Texas High School Soccer will not, but Inside Texas High School Soccer is predominantly covering the state, whereas the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable will cover the greater San Antonio and some of the Austin area, but South Central Texas, if you will. But Rafa, go ahead and tell us very briefly, maybe about these first two, 1 and 2 here. What are your thoughts on that? What these mean?
Yeah, so we got some local tournaments coming up, here in San Antonio the first couple weeks. Like I said, you have North Side, ISD, Northeast usually hosts, Shirts, Ranger Classic. I'm trying to think. Southwest ISD usually has it at Harlandale. So you got some really good local tournaments, some interesting matchups. You'll have some North Texas, Houston area teams or El Paso teams come over here. That you normally don't see. So you'll see us on about for some of these tournaments. And then also, like I said, as far as some game coverage, like I said, you'll probably see me and Steve, broadcast a game. Actually have
designated game of the week. Yeah.
Game of the week. I have actually Matt. Matt's going to come on board with San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. He's going to help me out, cover some games. So I'm looking forward to that. And then also from my traveling work, so I'm actually going to be in early February. I'm going to be in the Odessa area. So I might do a little special, call it a couple, maybe a game over there in the West Texas area. Maybe I got to check the schedules first. Who's playing that night? Maybe I'll be at Ratliff, which I got to experience this back in
the rumor is you're just trying to come out in the background as an extra for that new series Landman. Is that true? Yeah, trying to make it out to West Texas,
or the new they're bringing back Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I saw that.
An extra for that.
Did you see a release date on that?
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy. All right, so we move on. So 3, 4, and 5. So local power rankings, coach and player spotlight, and Cinderellas and dark horses. Tell us a little bit more about those, Coach.
Yeah, so power rankings, like I said, we do pound for pound. We don't split them up. Like I said, I'll do pound for pound, the best of the best. I'll do one for the statewide, and like I said, roundtable. We do the local San Antonio area, which hopefully, because I'll be working on that probably in this coming week. I'm just kind of waiting to see. I'm not jumping the gun. Like I said, I do my research and stuff. I want to kind of give a good list, and coach player spotlight. We're definitely going to be doing a lot of that. I know with the roundtable, we're already in discussion with somebody. I know Harry's been talking to somebody about bringing someone on board there to do an interview of upcoming season. And then you have your Cinderellas and dark horses. There's so many teams, especially with the landscape, and like I said, with the change of, the things, which actually is, you can lead to District 6, the number 6 here with the district outlooks. You mentioned about 26 5A. That's the group of death, for Region 4, for boys and girls.
Yeah.
And then also, but you have other districts on like in North Texas. They got, like I said, you have your Marcus, Louisville's district. You got your Cadies, even the Valley too. Like I said, now that Brownsville Rivera dropped down from 6A to 5A, it's just made things more interesting down there. Which Valley team is going to go through, and even 4A. 4A is going to be interesting now. Now you have some new teams. There are some new programs that are coming in. How is that going to, what kind of factors they're going to come in? Like I mentioned, there's a couple, like I'll mention like Cole High School in San Antonio, brand new program. Actually, they've been playing kind of an independent.
They're new to UIL, but they're not new.
Yeah. So they're new to UIL, but they've been an independent. They've built some teams the last few years. Mm-hmm. And then I think there's even a couple. Luling High School, which is a 2A. But they're going to play 4A soccer, so kudos to them. So, but as you can see, but I guess with those teams that this sport is starting to grow. And like I said, hopefully in the near future we'll see more. I know last year we mentioned about, maybe a new division in soccer. Hopefully maybe that'll happen. But I think more and more teams are starting to see, hey, it's worth the investment to have a high school soccer team. And we may see more of those 3A, 4As pop up hopefully in the next few years.
Yeah. And last but not least, our big one, our beast. Obviously, you all will cover some area around playoff coverage, but the big one, bracketology. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Well, this is gonna be interesting now that we had two split divisions, Division 1s, Division 2. So we're gonna have to pick, some additional state champions. It's gonna be interesting how these matchups are going to be. I know last year. Yeah, it was tough. They had quite a few upsets last year. It was very unpredictable. And like you mentioned, like Prosper, Prosper kind of ran the gauntlet. We thought maybe like I said, they had some hiccups the last couple of years, but they finally got it through. I think like Katie Jordan, like I said, they were able to repeat. So like I said, the bracketology will probably be the same. Hopefully, I think we'll have enough more time. Hopefully, the certification, that way we can see the brackets and then and then do our thing. Like I said, I don't know, we'll break our record of 6 hours or 7 hours like we did the last time.
Yeah,
but we did it. But the unique thing, we did do a midnight one. I think a lot of fans like that, the midnight kind of midnight madness bracketology.
We got a lot of great feedback on that.
So we may do that again. I think we probably do that again. And it's like I said, and then maybe we'll have some other people come on board, give their opinions on who they think maybe will get to Georgetown. And like I said, it's an exciting season. Like I said, there's a lot of new things and a lot of new changes, but for the better. And it just shows, I think, from since the coverage in the start of the 50/50 podcast and also with the Roundtable, and we've seen that growth of the sport, and it's just getting better and better each year. And I think the excitement's there too. And I know, talking to some players on Saturday, even though we're playing with their clubs, I mentioned to them about, how do you feel about the high school season? Oh, they're pumped up. They're ready. Like, hey, I just want Thanksgiving to be over because I'm ready for on December 2nd to get it going.
Nice. That is great stuff. Great stuff. And all right, so we move on. So that is a look at the greater San Antonio area that will be predominantly covered by obviously some by 50/50 podcast, but more so by the San Antonio in collaboration with our partners at the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. Now we look at Texas. All right, so some of the key things that we have scheduled here, upcoming key tournaments and schedule and key dates. We hit on the key dates just a little while ago, but we will continue to hit on more of those things as it progresses, and looking at district matchups, key dates in districts, what have you. We'll look at that. Our 2024 champions review. It'll be the last time we do this particular format, because obviously we will double from 6 state champions to 12 state champions next year, or at the end of this season, I should say. But our 2024 champions review is essentially where we look at last year's, we line up and we look at all of last year's champions from 4A, 5A, and 6A. And then we kind of assess who, between the rebuild, the reload, what they graduated, and then we try to assess maybe who has the best chances at repeating. So it's a cool little thing that we do, cool little format. And then, of course, the big one at number 4, the RPI, the Rafa Power Index, are where we look at the top 15 in the state, coupled by what would be the next 5 in. And it's interesting format, as Rafa mentioned earlier, because we do that based upon, we look at it on a pound for pound scale, basically, essentially, regardless of classification, who do we feel rates highest in the state, boys and girls side. So very, very fun. We dubbed that the RPI, the Rafa Power Index. Rafa, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's always difficult because, like I said, there's a lot of changes. Some skyrocket, some drop down, but it's like I said, it's a pound for pound, the best of the best, regardless of the classification. We've had some 4As that's been the pound for pound best team in the state of Texas, and we had some 5As, but it's always interesting, and then you also, out of the list, all get to see, some teams that maybe don't get the coverage, and they maybe this year this is their breakout year. They're making some noise. We saw a lot of those teams last year. Like I said, I do my research. I look at the schedules, who they face, and where they play it at, like sort of some of the tournaments that play that. It's it's a lot of, like I said, a lot of research that goes into this list. It's not always tough. Sometimes I have to leave out a couple teams I'm not happy about, but like I said, I'm gonna put the best 15 of the next 5 in, and like I said, things can change. But like I always say, the team that is holding the trophy, that's what's going to matter the most. But what this year is going to be interesting, at the end of the season, there's going to be 12 teams, for each side,
Mm-hmm.
6 teams. So we'll get to see who's really pound for pound now, as far as some state champs.
Oh yeah. And he really does do his research, folks. I've seen it firsthand in terms of between the spreadsheets, between all the conversations that he has with coaches, and then connecting him with coaches as well. He dives into it. So pretty much once we unveil that for hopefully our next episode, once we unveil that in an episode of Inside Texas High School Soccer, you will see that every episode after that, we will unveil the latest RPI rankings. So look forward to that one. Always fun. Our regional overview, we will go through and we'll look at select teams in select districts on both sides of the house for all classifications, 4A, 5A, and 6A. It's always fun to look at those. It's tedious, but it's fun. We don't go through, maybe make predictions for every single district, because that would really take a long time. But we do highlight teams, we do highlight districts, we do highlight matchups, and then we look at kind of potential head-to-head matchups between districts, what that might look like. But obviously, with the Division I, Division II split, that's a lot tougher to make a call on now. And then we look at 6. One of my favorite ones is our Team of the Week and Game Balls Awards. We will in the coming weeks, we will start to roll that out in future episodes of Inside Texas High School Soccer, where both Rafa and I, we will designate a team of the week on boys side, girls side, what have you, that we want to pick, and then we'll also pick whoever we want to give our Game Ball Award to, both the boys side and girls side of the house. Always fun. And recognizing both our teams and actual individual athletes for some of the great stuff that they're doing around the state. And then last but not least, what we ended on previously on the San Antonio side is the bracketology and the playoff coverage. Definitely here for the playoff coverage to bring you all the way to state. And of course, the bracketology will be interesting, because what does that look like this year with a whole new set of brackets? So we shall see. I'm sure Harry will love that one. So shout out to Harry. Harry will probably have his hair will look like mine probably by the end of that the bracketology season. But he does great work with that as well. Our friend Harry Austin at the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. So big shout out to Harry as well. So all right, that does it for what we're going to cover here. What season 5 will look like. Coach, I'm trying to make it through this. All right. Constantly clearing my throat and trying not to cough too much. I appreciate your time. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I know, as I said, obviously I'm a little under the weather, but still wanted to make sure that we delivered this show to you all. But before we get out of here, Coach, it's great to see you back again. I know, another season 5. Can you believe that? It's crazy. And we kind of excuse me. And for those of you that don't know or aren't familiar with the show, this series, the Inside Texas High School Soccer, which is what this actually is, which is a spin-off series of the 50/50 podcast, part of the 50/50 podcast network, we kind of just stumbled across it by accident, and it's still one of my favorite things. It's a story I love telling, because there was no intent on we were just gonna, when we first launched this, we just kind of wanted to talk a little bit more playoff soccer here and there. And then there was a great demand for it, and it just kind of took off. And now here we are, season 5. And Rafa's been with us every step of the way for this. And I really appreciate you, brother. You do great work.
Thank
you. You're just committed to this. And I know you love this great sport. So, and this sport is lucky to have someone like you that is crazy about it. So So thank you for all of that. And before we go, it's our stoppage time. Final thoughts, Rafa, take it away. What do you got?
Like I said, I love doing this. Like I said, being part of the fraternity, because like I said, for the new viewers there, I'm a former high school soccer coach. I used to coach at Dura High School. So that's why I'm here in my own stopping grounds. Like I said, I have background also coaching club soccer. I actually coached with Steve there with Texans, so we've gone a long way too. But one thing as I'm looking forward to this season is like some of the excitement, like, a lot of the new changes and so forth, and it's going to be fun. I have some new things coming up. I am working on a big project. I can't announce it just yet. We're still kind of working on the details, but it's going to be but it's going to be done something on a short scale, but hopefully it'll lead on to a bigger scale. I'm working on that. Hopefully we'll have another one. A couple, I'm looking forward to calling some games. I actually already did call one game. I would call it the Central Catholic or TAPS. Gotta love some love for TAP soccer too.
Yeah, shout out to our folks out at out on the TAP side, on the private school side.
Yeah, they call the Central Catholic boys game versus Loreto St. Augustine. Great game. Congrats to my buddy Bart Valerio, coach there at Central Catholic, and my old coaching buddy there with Club America. So like I said, you'll see a lot of the coverage. Like I said, I know with 50-50, like I said, we're going to do a lot of the stateside roundtable. I mentioned we're going to do a lot of kind of the local. We'll give some love for TAPS too there too as well. And but I just look forward to it. It's going to be a fun season, and also looking forward to checking out some of your games. I know you have a new district and going into a new district, a familiar opponent from that round one game. That was a wild and bleak game.
Tough district, man. It's going to be. I tell people all the time, 28 5A is going to be a sneaky good soccer district. So yeah, we got our work cut out for us. Some great competition in there, and we haven't proven anything yet. So we got a lot to prove. But yeah, appreciate you, Rafa. And for me, final thoughts really is first and foremost, thank you to everybody for bearing with me, because I know this is not usually what I sound like, and definitely under the weather, but really still love being here. So thank you for bearing with me. But excuse me, what I wanted to do really quick, kind of rewinding back to last weekend, is my time in Galveston at Moody Gardens and covering the TASCO, Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention. And it was a blast. I had so much fun talking our sport, talking with so many different people from so many different levels about who were excited to be there, who were excited to talk to our coaches, who were excited to get to know our coaches. And then talking with so many of our, my peers, colleagues, fellow Texas high school soccer coaches, who it was just getting to know them a little bit more, hearing a little bit more insight from their programs, some of the things that they have to deal with, their communities as well. And it just, all I can say is that our Texas high school soccer is in a very, very good place. We got a lot of people that are just proud to be doing what they're doing. And as I told, when I was interviewing, when I was interviewing Jerry Hurtado, who just went into the Hall of Honor, the TASCO Hall of Honor, by the way, shout out to Jerry again. Shout out to Jerry. But when I was interviewing both him and Brian Heyman from Baytown Sterling, one of the things that I told him that I'm just the happiest, most proud of, I guess, or warms my heart, is just to see from like year one when I was there, the conversations I've had in year two, and then this year 3, the conversations that I have, not just in person at TASCO, but over the phone, connections through DMs, different things through email. How many coaches are proud to be Texas high school soccer coaches? And as I told them, I don't know how definitively you could have really said that 5 years ago, So I'm just, to be a small part of it, I'm grateful to so many people, to Jimmy Kruger, the COO of TASCO, as well as Chris Besner, president of TASCO, Rob Bledsoe, vice president, all past presidents, Jared Shipman, as well as the entire board, from our regional directors at TASCO, assistants, and then the rookies. Everybody's been awesome. The Moody Garden staff, everybody, but most of all our coaches. And I say this in speaking to student athletes out there, right? Our players across the state. your coaches are doing so much more for you all, for your programs, than I think you realize. And they don't want the credit. They don't need it. That's not why they do it. But I think it's important to know that our sport is in a good place. Our sport is in a place where we have a lot of coaches, a lot of good people that really care about our sport and want to do better. They want to do better for the athlete. They want to do better for their communities, and they want to do better for our sport. So yeah, and I think that was some of what I also relayed in my conversation with Stephen Mackey, right, from the Texas way there. So I had a good chance to have a conversation with him, have a discussion with him, a really good discussion, and I was grateful for his time and his consideration. And yeah, I think it was a great time. So if you get a chance, go out. You can check them out on YouTube as well. It had a lot of great guests. So thank you to our guests as well that came on, because they're the ones that drive the content. But listen, wherever you listen to your podcast, right? Your podcast platform of choice, of preference. You can go there, download, listen to the podcast, or jump on YouTube. You can find them even here on Twitter X. You can find the old videos if you can find them. But if not, also go to our YouTube channel at the 50_50 podcast, and you can listen to them there, view them, listen to them, sign up for notifications, subscribe. So this way you don't miss it, because everything we do, 99% of everything we do is live. So, so go on there, like, rate, subscribe, tell us, as I always tell people, if you think that we're doing well, give us that rating. If you think we need to work on some stuff, give us that rating, and then send all your complaints to Rafa, not to me. So, as I always say. So, but excuse me, that is going to do it. Thank you to everybody one more time, and happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to Rafa, to you and your family.
Thank you too as well.
And happy Thanksgiving to Steve-O as well, joining us. Really appreciate him. Looking forward to having him on here more this year as he takes a step back from some of his club coaching duties and maybe has a little bit more time. So, plus, not to mention how much he'll be covering games out there for us as well. So, because he works hard on that front, and we're grateful to him, and excited for another year to work with our partners over at San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, and all, regardless of what platform is out there, right? The Lethals of the world, the 6As of the world, the whatever, Soy Saps of the world, just to name a few. But wishing everybody the absolute best this season. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. And to our listeners everywhere, we say it all the time, and we'll continue to say it. You all are the reason why we do this. So until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening.